All right, y'all. So here we go. First, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today on the profit system for wedding professionals. I'm going to talk all about how to read your clients' needs so you can double your profits, do half the events, and finally get paid what you're worth. This is what I've been working on for about 5 years. So, I'm going to be sharing all about my experiences and how I can help you guys. So, what we're going to discover today, which I talk really fast and I like to give a lot of information, so I don't want to overwhelm you. But one of my struggles in building a business is I don't know how to say no to the wrong clients. And so, how to identify the right clients has been so important to me. And in using this psychology methodology that I've been using forever, and I know that Google and Microsoft and there's other huge companies that use this methodology, so I know it works. And some of you who follow me probably have heard me talk about it 1,000 times. And so I'm going to go over the exact process to follow on how to read your clients and get paid what you're worth. And so the next 90 minutes is for you. And I want to teach you guys the 3-step strategy that's really dramatically, like, quite frankly, changed my life and changed my company. And so I've been able to really decrease the amount of events that I've been doing and focus 100% on just maybe 20 or 30, not over 100 or 200, which I did one year and about killed myself. So if you're doing too many weddings or events, this webinar is for you. So if you are finding yourself like working in weddings and events for fun or for free, I've been there. I've done it for 2 years. That's how I got started. If you're looking for ways to streamline your process and create a solid experience for the clients, and if you're really wanting to get paid what you're worth and stop haggling with prices, then you're in the right place. So I'm going to go over really my full story as quickly as I can, beginning to get in straight up, tell you my journey, tell you what's happened, how I've gotten there. So imagine if you could take a magic wand, right? Sometimes it's like Harry Potter. I wish we could all have a magic wand. And you could read your clients' minds to ensure that they're a good fit. If you could get more organized by having a streamlined process, and if you could do what you love full time and make money doing it, like how would that make you feel? Like there's so much head trash out there that people say, oh, you can't make a living off of being a planner or a designer. And like, I'm here to tell you guys, like, you actually can if you have the right tools in place and you can get the clients that you want to work with. It's all about communication. And so you can do your passion, I promise you. And after doing these methods, like I sleep better at night and I can be way more present with my family. So, for those of you who don't know me and you're new, welcome. And a little bit about myself, really quickly. I love my puppies. This is Lily and Pepe. They travel with me all over the place sometimes. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now, and I'm known for being the psychology and technology guru in this industry. I love software and systems and processes. And I'm really blunt. I'm going to tell you how it is with a smile on my face. So, again, for those of you who don't know me, a few things about why to listen today is I've learned how to put boundaries in place. I've learned how to pre qualify my clients to take the right events so that I can be happy. My clients are happy, my team, my vendors, everyone is typically happy. I've learned how to hire the right team members, which I hired my friends in the beginning, which I lost them all. Have y'all been there? Has that happened? And I've really learned to overcome tragedy, which I'm going to share a little bit about that today. So, just so you guys know, like for about 10 years, I was really glued to my phone, like 24/7. It was very unhealthy. It was like I was in email jail and I was getting burnt out. It was unhealthy. I wasn't sleeping. My hair was falling out. I was gaining weight. Like I was working so hard for everyone else and not taking care of myself. And the year that I did over 200 events, like it looked like I was making money. I thought I was making money, but after sitting down with an accountant and a business manager and them showing me how I was not tracking my time or tracking my expenses, it was like a knife in my heart. And after going through all of these things and learning these things, I very confidently can tell you how you can say no and take on the right clients. So, another reason to listen, I've published 8 books for our industry, for the wedding and the events industry. I've been featured on several fun television shows on ABC Family, E, TLC, We, Pickler and Ben, and CMT. We've been featured in lots and lots of magazines. We've had our weddings featured in People and Us Weekly. Recently, I was published in the Special Events magazine for 25 young event pros to watch under 40. And then my favorite was being published in Success magazine about being paperless and embracing technology. And I have a ton of resources that are dedicated to event professionals. So I've got a podcast called Weddings Unveiled. Obviously, you're on my email list if you are on this webinar today. I've got a membership program called the Inner Circle. I've got a YouTube channel with a ton of free videos and a blog where it's all the knowledge that I love to share with the industry. And sure, like now I am able to travel the world and speak and teach this very process. I've just never gotten it together on a webinar. This is the first time, and it's something I've been working on for so long. But I've gotten to go to places like Antigua and Mexico and Necker Island and Nevis, Peter Island, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Hawaii, London, Italy, like just to name a few. And yes, I've worked with celebrities and people in the public eye. I don't really talk about it that much because they're just people to me. Like, I really treat everyone the same. The only difference is with celebrities, the security and the privacy is elevated major. So a few of the people that I've gotten to work with is Kelly Pickler from American Idol. She was on the 5th season, and now she's a TV personality on Pickler and Ben. This is Kelly and Kyle at Jumbie Bay. This is a beautiful picture that Joe Busink took. I've gotten to work with Hillary Scott from Lady Antebellum. She is so amazing. Here is Hillary and Chris. We did their wedding in New York and Albany. It was a winter theme. It was one of the most intimate, absolute gorgeous winter theme weddings. One of my favorite that I've ever done. So intimate. Here is Jason Aldean. He's best known as Entertainer of the Year 3 years in a row, 2016, 17, and 18. And here is Brittany and Jason. We did their wedding in Mexico. And yes, that is one of the guys from Duck Dynasty. Jason and him are best friends. They hunt together. And it was an absolute blast getting to travel and plan with them. This is Patrick Carney from the Black Keys. He's known as the drummer. And there's him and Emily. And that is Will Forte from SNL, Saturday Night Live, officiating. We did their wedding at their home here in Nashville and turned their backyard into an amazing experience for 400 guests. And you might have heard this behind the scenes, Shaun White, which at the time I didn't know who he was, but apparently he's like a major Olympian winner for snowboarding. And he had a little bit too much to drink. And so I had to dismiss him from the party, and he ended up getting arrested for pulling the fire alarm. So it was all over the news. And yeah, that was me. So another person that I've gotten to work with is Eddie George. He is a former American professional NFL football player for the Tennessee Titans, which they came from Houston. And now he is a judge on NBC reality competition show called American Dream Builders. So there's Eddie and Taj. This is their 10-year renewal vows, and it was shot for a TV show. She is part of a group called SWV, Sisters with Voices, which was really big back when I was in high school. So this is Necker Island, and this is a private island owned by Richard Branson. And it was one of the coolest islands I've ever gotten to tour for a bride. They've had a lot of challenges lately with hurricanes and weather. And I really, really look up to Richard Branson. He's one of the most well-known entrepreneurs and investors who controls over 400 companies. So he knows what he's doing, people. So I want to introduce you to one of my friends, Annette. She's amazing. And she's done this exact system that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And so whenever she started to coach with me, she's like, okay, I've done a ton of programs. She was kind of like, I just don't know about this. And I'm like, just give it a try. I know change is hard, but if you want a different result, you got to do something different. And so as she says right here, I was kicking and screaming, but then after I started to use the processes, it was so worth it. And she says, I actually make it fun. And so I don't ever want anyone to feel stupid. Like, no question is stupid. We just don't know what we don't know. And that's okay. And so my story and why it matters to you is because we all would love to have this save your time button on your computer. And, it doesn't really exist, but I'm going to tell you how I've learned to save a lot of time and get my time back today. So a little bit about where my journey began. I began working and teaching gymnastics when I was 13 years old. And as I got older, I continued to teach gymnastics into my 30s until I broke my foot. But I will say, right before college, I had a student who was in her 30s, and she was a gymnast, and she knew I was going off to school to be a nurse. That's what I thought I wanted to do because I really did love to help people. And so she's like, we could use a secretary where I work. So are you interested in coming down there? It would be a wonderful opportunity for you. Well, that opportunity was at the morgue. And I didn't know what a morgue was, to be honest with you. But I learned a lot, and it taught me a lot about death and people and how they act and autopsies. And I was really good at anatomy. And so when I went off to school, I went to UT Knoxville, go Vols. We were awesome when I was there because Peyton Manning was there, T. Martin was there, and then I left, and now we suck. We still suck, but that's okay. But that's besides the point. So I was in the middle of my clinical rotations, and I went to give a patient a shot, and I couldn't do it. I could not inflict pain on a live person. I was used to doing it on dead people. I know that sounds so morbid and so weird, but that's just the truth. I'm telling you the truth today. So what I did is I changed my major to psychology, and I decided to go and do an internship and a practicum and clinical rotations my last year at a mental hospital because, again, I really wanted to help people. And so I did that for 6 months, and I did it in Florida. Even though I went to school at UT, they allowed us to travel. But the important thing is before I could graduate, I had to produce 6 months worth of a project for my professor to see all that I had learned over those 6 months. And the week of graduation, right before graduation, this is where I thought my life was over. My computer got a virus, and I don't know if any of you remember the towers. Like, this is what my old computer looked like. And I took the tower into the computer doctor in Pensacola, Florida, and he said, honey, did you back up with a floppy drive? And I'm like, what the heck is a floppy drive? But after that, I cried for days and days, and he had my computer tower for 2 days and then told me he could recover nothing. So not only did I lose everything from my project for graduation, but I lost my pictures and other things that I thought were really, really important. When you're in college, again, you don't know what you don't know. So I decided to become a tech geek. And this is where it all started. So this tragedy actually became a good thing for me as a business owner as I grow my business. But I can tell you, when I lost everything, I'll never forget the phone call. I felt so empty. I was so depressed. And I actually had to stay up 3 days and 3 nights in a row to produce 6 months worth of stuff. And it was all from memory. And when you're working with hundreds of patients, it's just mind boggling. Like, I really thought to myself, maybe I should check myself into the mental hospital for being so depressed. So I don't know if you guys have ever lost anything on your computer, but it's a really, 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 really empty feeling. And so, because of these things, I don't ever want anyone to feel that way. And that's the reason I'm so, like, literally crazy passionate about talking about these things. So, about a week later, I got through that. My car was broken into, my purse was stolen, and my wallet. I didn't care about any of that stuff. What I cared about was my planner because I wrote down everything, like everything I use. Colored post-it notes, just like in this picture. So if you do that, can you give me a hands up or a type of yes? Because we all do it, especially as planners and detailed people. We loved our planners. It was monogrammed. It was so cute. But again, it was gone. And so, about this time when I was working at the hospital, the good thing about all this is I just had to go to work and teach gymnastics at night. So, well, I thought my life was so important, it really wasn't. But at work, I was learning how to implement EMR, which is electronic medical records. And the government had not mandated this yet, but I was learning on the computer how to document medical records. And so, also at that time, we started at the hospital to implement online calendars, and then jump drives came out. And so, backing things up really became like the cool thing to know. So, again, I kind of become a geek in that too. Well, I did that for almost a year. And then something pretty tragic happened where one of my patients, she tried to commit suicide and kill herself. And she jumped. And when I went to the hospital to visit her inpatient, she didn't remember who I was. And I'd been her therapist for a good 5 months. And it literally broke my heart. Like, I would cry all the time and tell my parents, like, I can't do this. Like, these people are really sick and I cannot help them. So I wasn't a quitter, but I quit and I decided to move back to Nashville. And so when I got back into Nashville, I still taught gymnastics. And then I worked at the HIV clinic at Baptist Hospital and worked for an infectious disease doctor. And again, we were just implementing EMR because the government started to mandate it. So keep that in mind because as I tell my story, that's important. So when I moved back, I met a fun guy and all my friends were getting married. And so I got married. I was 21. We had a large Catholic wedding. My uncle was a planner. My family had a venue for 35 years. And the guy I married was actually a chef for the Titans. And so we pretty much had the hookup with a wedding. And my uncle pretty much did everything. I mean, I was pretty organized about it, but I was very laid back. And then after my wedding, the people at my church started to ask me and my sister, she got married shortly after I did. And they said, can you guys help do all the weddings here? Because your parents are head of the funeral committee. So can you guys help do the weddings here? So I did. I did it for fun, no pay for about 2 years because what happened to me next, life was good for about a year and we bought a house, our first house. We had nothing, no furniture. I was sleeping on an air mattress. And so I was working at the hospital and teaching gymnastics and doing weddings for fun at church on the side. And so, again, life was good for about a year. And then life got really hard because the guy I was married to at the time, he was deployed. This is pre Skype and texting and FaceTiming and Zoom. Like, none of that existed, y'all. And so I was so upset and so depressed that he was gone. Like, I didn't sign up for that. I was raised in a home with a mom and a dad. And so I was like, this is going to be weird. And so this is where like my triple life kind of began because I was so depressed. I was so sad. It's like that was not in my plan for him to be deployed. He was in the Guard. He wasn't even in the Army full time. And so I really started to hide my pain and my depression behind working. And I worked a lot. I worked a lot. So much to where the first 6 months that I lived in this house, I had no furniture. And quite frankly, I didn't care. I worked all the time, still at the hospital, at church, at gymnastics, and everyone that I knew, they were like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm great. When really inside, like I was just hurting. So I was hiding behind my work. And I knew that I wanted to grow my business because that was something that I could control and focus on. So I started to join organizations and I started to branch out through word of mouth. And I just kept saying yes to planning so many weddings over and over and over. I didn't pre qualify, I didn't care because I just wanted to stay busy. I wanted to keep my mind off of what I did not want to think about was, is my husband going to die in Iraq? That's just how it was. And so this went on for 5 years, literally 5 years. And so in next, it's just at that hospital that I was working at, this is when EMR, going back to EMR, it really started to become a huge thing. The government mandated it to get pay. And so literally for 5 years, I was like the cheerleader. Like I went around to primary care offices and subspecialty offices and helped recruit people to use the EMR system. And I really did love it. Like I really did. But I started to get busier and busier with weddings. And then finally I had to give up gymnastics because I just couldn't do it. There wasn't enough hours in the day. And so then this is where, you hear like when it rains, it pours, right? It is just crazy how 2010, the year 2010, which, it's 8 years ago now, but this is when my life really changed for me personally for the better. And where most people would think it was for the worst. And so these are things that like people just don't like to talk about in real life. Like they don't want to hear the bad and the ugly. And social media over the years, because social media did not exist whenever I started my business, everyone is so focused on showing the good. And we work in this industry that just demands perfection. And I strive for perfection, but at the heart and the core of it, like us planners, designers, wedding professionals, like we are real people too. Like we have family challenges and life challenges and business challenges, and it's like no one talks about it, and including myself. Like I hid behind it for a good 10 years. And so it really I really had to like build this up to say, okay, like I'm going to get out there, I'm going to talk about this. For 9 years I did 3 jobs. I was in healthcare, events, gymnastics. Like my time was completely out of control. So my husband came back, and after all those years of touring, like, as you know, if you're married, marriage is a job and it is about connecting and communication and community. And we didn't have any of that. So, you know where I'm heading with this. That turned into, well, this isn't going to work. You don't know who I am anymore. You don't even know about my company, and divorce. So it was a pretty easy thing. It's like, you go on your way, I'll go on my way. No big deal. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, who's going to listen to a divorced wedding planner? Right. And so this is not what kept me up at night, though, at all. This is what kept me up at night. So in 2010, our town flooded. So this is the Interstate 24, where our town, I don't know, it was literally a natural disaster. We had 8 events displaced this weekend. And that should tell you something when it's like, oh, divorce, bye, and then 8 events, our town floods, and I'm like, I really care more about my events being perfect than anything else. So if that gives you any indication what was keeping me up at night, it's like all these people were counting on me and I can't control the weather. And that was like this huge epiphany of like, oh my gosh. And based on how some of these brides treated me and my team, like some of my team, they lost everything, their cars, their box trucks, their lights, their drape, their flowers. And like some of these people are so insensitive and they didn't even have flood insurance. So, I mean, we got it together. Our town pulled together as a family. And it was fine. Like we did get it under control, and I did have to redo all of those weddings, and we didn't charge those people double because it was just an act of God that you can't recreate that, and it's not their fault. So it was really a hard year when I stepped back and looked, but at the same time it was such a good thing for our town to pull together as a community. So a couple months later, after the whole flood thing, I got through that. And then Kelly Pickler had called about doing her wedding. And she's like, I'm on the road, I'm dropping a new album, and TLC wants to film this wedding show. And she's like, you'll have to sign all this paperwork and go on the road with us. Like, I would love for you to be our planner. Well, of course, I said yes without even thinking about it. I just adored her and Kyle. But I had a real job. Like, I worked at the hospital. Now I had a flexible job, but I couldn't just be like, peace out for 6 weeks and come back. So within 24 hours, I resigned at the hospital. I got on a bus and there we went. And so I didn't even think about it, because if I actually was going to think about it, I would have talked myself out of it, because I was raised by very two parents that just did the same thing over and over because they like having that security. And that's the environment that I grew up in. So my parents thought that I was sick, like mentally ill. They're like, what's wrong with you? You have this great job, you make great money. And I'm like, this is why I didn't discuss it with you guys, because I don't want to do that. I want to find a new way, because while I make good money and like I like my job, I don't love it. Like, it just wasn't me. And so I thought to myself, what's the worst that can happen? Like, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back. Like, they'll take me back. But I did not want to continue to be the hamster on the wheel anymore. Like, I had money saved. It did run out fast. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I didn't want to feel that way anymore. So after planning on the road a little bit, they decided, Kelly and Kyle, that they wanted to get married in Nashville at Cheekwood, a beautiful botanical garden. We had everything filmed. TLC, we spent a lot of time with their film crew. And it was a lot of fun, but it was a ton of work. And one thing that was really, really important to Kelly and Kyle was that they were going to be themselves, which I was like, thank God that they're not going to script this show, because I hate what TV perceives weddings to be. It's so fake. And so what started to happen about a month before the wedding, she called me. And she said, it was actually the day after Thanksgiving. And she's like, can you come over? I need to talk to you. And she's like, I have some family issues, which she is very, very public with it. And she's like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want this televised. This is not what marriage is about. Can you please just find us like a private island and just help us go there? And in my head, I'm like, sure, let me see what I can do. And in my head, I'm like, private islands? Those exist? Like, what's that? Like, I had never even done a freaking destination wedding, okay? So thank God I had gone to a couple conferences, like luxury conferences, and I had networked with people, because after like emailing and calling within like 48 hours, and it was a holiday weekend, people, it was like coming into Black Friday, I landed the perfect spot in Antigua. It's a little island called Jumbie Bay. And the lady there was like, so we might have to move you guys around in a few different suites, because I don't really have anything for the whole week. And I said, it's just Kelly and Kyle, me, and the photographer and the video people. And I'm like, we can all share a house. We don't care. She just wants to get married where it's private. No one knows who she is. And she just wants it to be private. So as we're flying in, the photographer, Joe Busey, he's like, Ange, look at that beautiful sandbar. Do you think that they would get married in the water? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's ask them. So we rehearsed it, and they ended up getting married in the middle of the water. This is not a fake picture. There's nothing photoshopped about it. It was absolutely magical, and it was the most special ceremony to date that I think I've ever been a part of. And so when I returned back, then reality set back in, and I'm like, oh my God, like, holy crap, I quit my real career and my money was really running out. And I kept hearing from these people, like, do your passion full time and make money. And I was getting clients, a lot of them, plenty of them. But what I didn't realize is I did not know how to run a business. Like, it was bad. Like, I continued to plan weddings, and then I started planning events, and then I started planning bar and bat mitzvahs, and then birthday parties and conferences, and more and more and more and more. Like, I just kept going. And it looked like I had plenty of money. Like, it was pouring in. I was paying off my student loans. I was debt free. And from the outside, it looked like everything was so great, even to my own self. Like, I was living in this denial world that, yeah, there's plenty of money. Like, I can do whatever I want. But finally, like I hit a wall and like here I was again. Like my time was absolutely out of control, even though I was running my own business, focusing on me, focusing on the business and my clients. I had to hire more people. I ended up just, I had so much overhead and I owed a ton of people money. And the money was running out, like it wasn't coming in fast enough. So then again, I didn't sleep. My hair was falling out. I stopped going to the gym because I had all these demanding clients where I would literally not sleep for 2 and 3 days sometimes. And I don't drink coffee, y'all. And so I knew there had to be a better way. Like I knew I had to get help. And so that's when I joined an entrepreneur group. And that's when my life really started to change for the better. Pretty much every member in that group, they're like, "And you need a coach, and we know the guy just for you." And it's like I had all these people screaming at me in my ear, like saying good things, but it's like I can't afford another person. Like that's my problem. I'm paying all these people, and I don't think that I'm making a profit, so I can pay myself. But I knew that I couldn't continue to do it, so I hired this guy, and I don't even know how I figured it out, but I did. And so I'll never forget when we first started, he's like, "How are you making money? Like, what's frustrating you?" And I'm like, "Well, I make plenty of money. Like it's coming in, but I'm doing way too many events. These clients always ask me for a deal, which I'm providing a very, very valuable service. And even though I hadn't been doing it for that long, y'all, I grew up in weddings. My family owned a venue. I'd been around it for a very long time. It's a lot of hard work. And everyone thought I was just living this glamorous life. And so when vendors don't deliver, or they don't have the same goal or expectation as you, that's when things really start to go south because suddenly everything is your fault. And so I was allowing people to run me instead of, and my business was running me. Like I wasn't running anything except myself like crazy. And so he asked me, he's like, "So tell me what you want. Like, what do you want out of this?" I'm like, "I just want to help people." And he's like, "Well, if if you could do just X," he's like, "fill in the blank." I'm like, "Okay, I need to get paid for my time and my ideas and my creativity and my planning and my organization." I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And I'm like, "But people don't understand the value of what I do." And like, I keep wasting my time and saying no. I don't know how to say no. Like, I keep saying yes, 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 yes. So I was a complete train wreck. And I just didn't know anything about business. I knew that I could plan and create and execute these amazing events, but I didn't know anything about business, which now that I've been doing coaching, I found out that that's the norm, like completely. Okay. And so the first task from this business coach was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it seemed so simple. And so he asked me to track my time and my expenses, and like all the way down to like buying bottled water like for my clients on the weekends. And I gave every objection in the book, like I can't do that, like I have to be available for these people when they want, blah blah blah, and I can't do that, I can't do this. And his favorite question was why can't you do that, why? And so finally, like he worked on me for a year. He basically told me, "I'm going to fire you if you don't do this." And so that's when I really started to get control of my life and operating by my calendar. And if it wasn't on my calendar, it didn't really exist, is kind of how he trained me. So it was completely changing my mindset to get control. And this is where my breakthrough was. And it's just, life has been so much better. And so I'll tell you, after doing this and tracking this for 12 months, which seems like a long time, but for us that we plan a year in advance, it is so easy to blink your eyes and it's like, holy cow, the year's gone by. And so whenever I had this major breakthrough, what it taught me is the value of time and how my clients value my time. And when you allow your clients to text you and call you and do these things where there's no boundaries, like it's just unhealthy. Okay. So then at the end of that year, on top of tracking my time, my accountant, my business manager took that data and they showed me how many weddings and events I did for free, FREE. And not only some for free, but I paid people to do their events because I wasn't charging appropriately and I wasn't keeping up with it because it wasn't fun to do that. But if I was going to make money, run a business, then, I had to like put the work in. And so it wasn't easy, but there is a process. And I promise you, it's not that hard. It's a different way of thinking. So after coaching, I ran with everything that I learned. And it just seems so freaking simple. And so I really started to implement everything. And the people that I started to surround myself with, they were pretty successful. And so I started to do exactly what they were doing. And I started to change everything, how I saw everything. And I was very, very confident in doing it. And so I started to get bigger and better weddings and less of them. I was saying no more than I was saying yes. And I knew that when it was not a good fit, if someone said I have X amount of dollars and I knew it wasn't fair from a creative standpoint, I would just say we're not a good fit. And so that's what got a lot of my time back. And so I will say it took me about 24 months to get everything lined up because people book us a year in advance. And so, or sometimes 15 and 18 months. So whenever you are planning that far ahead and you change your contract or your service agreement, I mean, you still have to do what you promised the year before. So this is where I put the profit system in place. And it's all about psychology, process, and experience. And if you can nail these three things, I promise you, you can do exactly what I've been doing over the past like I said, 5 years. So remember, psychology, process, and experience. So this is one of my friends, Heather. And she went through this process. And what she said to me, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically she's like, this was really hard to hear. Like, this is the reality of my company. And she's like, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. And I just felt stupid, which again, I've been there. I felt all of this. So I know exactly what she's feeling. And she's like, I'm a smart person and I hear everything you're saying to me. And it was really, really, really difficult. But again, it's like all of us creatives, we're not good at business. And so she just said it was like a huge burden. But then I took that burden off of her. And in her gut, she's like, I knew I was on the wrong track, but I didn't know how to fix it. You helped me acknowledge it. And, we had some tears together. I mean, that's just part of it. Of being vulnerable is okay. It's okay to not be okay all the time. And so if we're taking care of other people, we have to take care of our business too, or you're never going to get anywhere. And most of us, we all worked a real job, as my parents would say. And then we're doing this on the side for fun. And this is not fun to run a business. And then she told me how she had several cheerleaders. And she's like, I trusted them and I thought their advice was good, but it wasn't right for me. And they didn't understand the big picture. And so I was really able to work with her and reframe the way that she was thinking. So now we'll jump back into doing destination weddings. So after Colleen Kyle's wedding, I literally started to travel the world, going to some of the most beautiful places that I didn't even know existed. And my family and my friends, they're like, can I just climb in your suitcase? And like, can I come with you? Like, they thought everything was so freaking glamorous. And on average, like, just so you guys know, like, this is just one cart of luggage. Like, in my clothes and shoes, that's not in here. This is like equipment and like linens and things, because there's no Target and Hobby Lobby 15 minutes away. Like, this is the private island life. But let me show you, like, the private island life. Yes, it's beautiful, but I'm working. And while I'm traveling and doing these weddings all over the world, and while everyone's like, oh my God, it's so amazing, like, my feet would swell so much from the heat that I couldn't walk. Like, I couldn't even fit my feet into flip-flops. My sister, who's had 4 kids, is like, oh my God, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. Like, you have to do something to get that result. And so I was doing all these destination weddings on my own. And half of the places I went, these people didn't speak English, bless their hearts. And so I was just moving tables and doing everything pretty much myself. Have you been there? So it's like I had all these bruises. I looked like I'd been beaten to death, but it was just tables. And like the blisters, even though I was wearing tennis shoes and socks, and like all the rashes and like all the skin problems. And people are like, oh my God, like, you're just going to all these beautiful places. And I'm like, well, I'm not exactly like on vacation laying out at the pool. It doesn't work that way. So like, I really could go on and on and on. Like, you get the point. It's not as glamorous as people think. And so it's like, these are the things that people don't talk about in our industry, and it just drives me crazy. And so we're always on this pedestal of being perfect and pretty, and like, I just can't do it anymore. So by now, you're like, you should know why I'm sharing this and like why I want to teach this, because I don't want people to have to go through what I went through. Like, it was hard, hard lessons. And like, while I wouldn't change any of them, well, maybe a few. I know that the system that I've been doing for the past several years, like, it works because I've done it. So let's go back to the things you can't buy in stores. I started off with this picture. People think that you can buy love and dreams and friends and a wish come true and happiness. And yes, money's a tool and it can definitely help get you places. But one thing, you can't buy time. No matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter. You can't buy time. Oh, I don't want to go backwards here. So you can't buy time. And so there's times where I'm so thankful that I did something to change my business, because I finally did get control of it. And then personally, I had no idea what was in store for me. And so while I was like, okay, things are getting better, it's like I got one thing on track, and then cancer. How many of you guys have had a family friend or your parent or a team member? It's like 1 in 3 people have cancer. Well, my dad got cancer. He was the rock of the family. It was tonsil cancer, and he talked for a living. And so he fought this for several years, and he went to heaven last year, and that's okay because he was so sick. But if I was working a 9-to-5 job, like, I would not have been able to take care of him and do his treatments and all that stuff. Like, yes, it sucks, but my God, at least I got to spend time with him. And then around the same time, my sister was diagnosed with ALS. So you might know it as Lou Gehrig's disease. And like, even though I was in healthcare, I didn't really know what it was. And it's like this disease that it gets worse over time, but like, it attacks the brain and the spinal cord and your muscles. And like, she can't walk and she's in a wheelchair. Her brain works just fine. And so this was right before she was diagnosed. And she's got 4 kids, and a lovely husband who works all the time, 7 days a week, so that they can have good insurance. And she's doing okay. But the reason she's doing okay is because I've been able to send her to Russia to get stem cell replacements. And I'm like, we can always work and make more money, but you can't get time back. So the question, why am I teaching this? I need my time, and I need to free up time to help my family. So again, I'm so thankful for all these business practices, because if I didn't know, like, I probably would have like literally jumped off a bridge and just wanted to drown, because if your business is out of control and your family's out of control, it's like, what do you have left? So I really want you to think about how you're spending your time, because my dad was like, time is precious. Young people say time is money, and old and sick people say time is precious, and it's so, so precious. So I wanted to share the story because my background has been crazy, but it's been really good too. And I've worked these things out. And I mean, I get so many emails from people. They're like, how do you do this? And how do you make it work? And, I'm like, guys, it's not that simple. But it really is. If you have a good business coach and you have systems in place, and thank God I had an amazing team in place to give me time to go do all this other stuff, it really, really wasn't the worst thing. So I ask you, what are you doing with your time? It's precious. So, okay, I'm going to jump in. What I'm going to share with you, what you'll discover is the psychology of communication, the best practices for a process. You've got to have a process. Don't let your clients create that process. You've got to have it. And then it creates that customized experience. And guys, like, I know that you can do this too. So you may live in a small town or work in a small town, and you may never work with people in the public eye or anything like that. But that's besides the point. That's not what this is about. It's about having systems and processes and the right people in place. So write down your questions as I run through it. And again, stay till the end and I'll answer any questions, because guys, I'm here to help. I really do want to help our industry. And so, okay, first thing, my favorite, psychology, all about personality and communication. And again, for those of you who know me, you're probably sick of hearing about this. But if you haven't implemented it yet, this is the time. Like, it's so, so, so important. So, it's going to help you pre-qualify your clients so you know their personality and you know how to communicate with them. So this is super, super important. So I was wasting so much time because I wasn't pre-qualifying. I was just saying yes, 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 yes. And I didn't know how to hire people and grow my team. Like, I was having my friends help me, which they were good, but then they didn't understand the business side of things, because you can't have the same conversation with people who don't own a business. It's just a different conversation. And then how to communicate with the team members and the clients. So I wrote a book for our industry, and my attorney was like, "Oh, you can't do that. Like, this is a trademark company." So I contacted the company and they said, "Oh, well, you can definitely do that, but you have to become a certified facilitator." And y'all, I hate school. I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to go back to school." But I went and I paid for it, and it was a week long. And it was actually one of the best weeks of my life, because I really started to understand the difference between revealing and listening, and then really understanding way, way more than what people want. So I'm going to say everyone has all four colors. Okay. So we've got orange, blue, gold, and green. And I know this looks hokey as hell. Okay. It looks like tarot cards. I'm not going to read your palm. I promise you, it seems a little cheesy, but it works. And I know it works because I did this. There were 32 assessments that I did when I worked in the psych ward. And this was the only one where patients would actually open up to me and share their stories with me. And it really got through to them, I think, because it's so elementary, where you can go to anywhere in the country and like go to a McDonald's and like you point based on colors and pictures, and you're going to get the meal that you want typically. So it's kind of elementary, but it works. And in stressful times, they say funerals, I call it celebration of life, and weddings bring out the worst and the best in people. And it's so true. But what I try to bring value in planning with people is, let's really highlight the strengths and the weaknesses, or better yet, let's call it pale color and bright color. So as we go through this, jot down really quickly, just by looking at the pictures, like what stands out to you most. And don't worry about some people are like, "Well, I hate the color orange," or "I hate UT." I'm like, that's not what it's about. Just look at the pictures, jot down what you see. So, for example, if I was going through this, like when I look at the pictures, the orange card pops out at me first. And actually, these cards are in the order that I actually am. So, this is how my brain's wired. And then blue is very family and caring and making people happy. Gold is business plan, business oriented, tradition, trustworthy, to do list. And green is all about research. And yes, I love computers, and yes, I'm a software geek, but I'm not a researcher at all. So that's something that I have to like trust others on my team to help me do those things. So I'm just going to hit the high levels for you guys if you haven't seen this process, because I don't have time to go through everything. I wish I did. Okay, so orange, the first thing with orange people, and I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm going to give you the high level. Orange clients, they want an experience. They're not micromanagers. In fact, the word deadline is not even in their freaking vocabulary. But I will say, this is my ideal client. They need me. They need someone that they can trust. They need someone that can be gold. You'll see what that means in just a minute. The most important thing about oranges is they do value that experience, and they typically want fun. And so the most important thing, like if you're not orange and you're not good at being spontaneous, that's okay. But reframing is the most important thing. So oranges, the way oranges are perceived, if you're not orange, like you goof off too much, like you're manipulative, you're scattered, you take unnecessary risks, you're obnoxious, you're immature. And it's like, people think I can't focus because I have to do 10 things at once. They're like, "How can you listen to all these side conversations in a huge meeting with all these vendors and these clients?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just my personality. I'm really good at it, but I'm not good at everything. I'm not good at history or science or things like that. But I can listen to 10 conversations at once." And so oranges, we're flexible, we're easygoing, we're playful. Like we always try to think of the happy, and like we're open to change. We can do a lot. We can have a lot of interest. It's just a good way to know who your clients are and how you need to communicate with them. So for gold people, they need a deadline. They need to know you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, and what is the deadline? They're extremely loyal and dependable, but these are the people that have a really hard time giving up control. So if you're gold, you know you have to earn the respect of other people's trust. You have to earn it. You're not just going to be like, oh, well, I've been a planner for 20 years. You need to respect me and you need to trust me. No, like you have to earn that. And let me tell you, if you tell them you're going to do something and you don't do it in time, they'll never trust you again. So reframing for goals, it's super, super important. Is some people can perceive golds, which guys, a lot of planners are gold, which I will say, sidebar, whatever your environment is, you can change your colors. Because when I worked in healthcare, I was super gold, high gold. And because I had to be if I was going to make sure I charted appropriately so that my patients would get their bills paid. And so people see golds as being inflexible, rigid, controlling, bossy, too serious. Like they just don't have an imagination. They're uptight. They're boring. But golds, they're very consistent. They provide structure. They're firm. They know right from wrong. They're very, very loyal. They're very realistic people. They're dependable and they want security. They like a routine. If you said, clock in 9 to 5, that's what they do. And even if they clock out at 5 and they're not done with the job that their boss has given them, they'll go back and work overtime just because they are accountable. And that's why they are wonderful leaders. So these clients typically, they come in with a notebook and it's all color coded and they think they know exactly what they're doing and they don't. So, whew, sorry about that. My little dog, her little friend's out there. So come here, Lily. So you want gold people and gold clients to understand that if you're not gold, it's going to be a little bit tough because they're going to be micromanaging. At least you may think that, but really they just want someone who's accountable. Okay, next, blue. So blue people and blue clients, they care about what everybody else thinks. If everybody around them is happy, they're happy. They really need uniqueness. And these are the people that want to do like handwritten notes to every single person. I'm like, you can write that thank you note once and then you can just write the name and like I can just print that stuff for you. Like that's really the most productive thing. And they're like, no, it has to be personal. And so these are people, like a lot of blue people are in the hospitality industry because they thrive off of making others happy and other people happy. But they do oftentimes get run over by other people's opinions. So that's something that you really have to watch for. So for reframing for blue people, like like some people that aren't blue at all, they're like, oh my God, they're so emotional. They cried everything. They're too mushy. Like they're persuaded. They're too nice. They're too trusting. They're smothering. They're too giving. They talk too much. Oh my gosh. So Vicky's like, I'm blue. Does that remind any of you of yourself? Like my mother is so blue, bless her heart. Like, and as an adult now, and now that I'm like teaching this, it makes me appreciate her so much more because she just cares. But she does get bulldozed over, especially at church. They're like, can you do this and this and this and this? And I'm like, Mama, there's only so much time in the day. Like, it's okay to tell them that you're overcommitted. But blue people, like they're romantic, they're compassionate, they're ideal, they're empathetic, they really care. They always see the best in others. They never say a bad thing, and they really love community and they want harmony and they're good communicators. And so moving on to green, which green is one of the colors that I had the hardest time really appreciating. I'm going to be really, really honest. I didn't have any green interns or any green team members until about maybe 2 years ago, where one of the girls hired an intern. She's like, she's green because my dad knows like her family. And I know that like green people get on your nerves because they ask too many questions. But the bottom line is, it's like these are the people that they seek knowledge and they ask why and they ask a lot of questions. In fact, a lot of my lead vendors and operation managers, they're all green. They ask a million questions. But it's so that whenever we go to do all of these amazing events and execute them, it's perfectly done. Like for an outdoor wedding, it's like how much weight can that tent hold, and how much flooring, and how much carpet, and how much this, and what kind of generators, and how much power. And I'm like, guys, I don't know. Just figure it out and tell me how much it's going to cost. So because we understand how each other thinks now, I'm not getting angry or impatient. So this was really important for me. So reframing, like others see greens like they're arrogant, they know it all, like they're insensitive, they're afraid to open up, they don't let their heart rule their they don't like their heart to rule their head. They're really, really good at just research. They're just unappreciative of others. They're just demanding. They're argumentative. A lot of doctors and attorneys and accountants, they're awesome, awesome greens. But when it comes to them, like they're confident, they're strong, they're logical, they're visionaries, they're self-controlled, they're good at analysis, they're good at objections, they can reprimand. And guys, oh my gosh, don't ever ask a blue to reprimand. They will like throw up and have diarrhea for like days. It's just not their personality. The greens, they can take the emotions out of it because they have such high expectations. They're very knowledgeable and just move on. So from a client perspective, most greens, they don't hire planners and definitely not designers because they can research online. They can do it themselves, which we all know that that's not really the case. So I'll tell you, like some really high level companies they've been using True Colors for years. So like Google and Boeing and Disney and Microsoft and Girl Scouts and the military, like a lot of people use it. And so knowing how people perceive you is just probably the number one thing at being successful in sales. And it wasn't until I hired that coach, I'm like, I'm not in sales. Like, I don't even like to sell. And now I'm like, I am the sales girl of my company. No one can talk about my company and share the experiences and make a client feel comfortable and say, yeah, give me $500,000 and I'm going to take it and give you the time of your life. Like, unless you can back that up, people just laugh at you and they're not going to trust you. And so you have to know how people are perceiving you. And let me tell you, some of us have to work a little bit harder than others. Even now to this day, like some older parents, they're like, oh, well, did you start planning when you were like 5? And, you know, they look at me and treat me like a dumb blonde and they say like dumb blonde jokes. And yeah, I laugh at myself and I make fun of myself. I don't take myself too seriously. And like, I don't think anything of it because I know what me and my team are capable of. And I'm very confident in that. Okay. So identifying who your ideal client is will make everyone much happier. I promise you that. So after testing this and going through it and saying, no, we're not a good fit, good luck, and just taking on orange clients over the past few years, it has changed my life. It's so much better because you attract what you're putting out. And so, oh, my computer's telling me it's 1:00. Okay. So identifying either who's your target market, which again, y'all, I've done thousands of weddings that I had no business doing. I just kept saying yes, going back to why I was doing it. I was not doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it to keep myself busy. However, I'm very, very thankful that I had the opportunity to do that and I gave it my all, but I was miserable. And so identifying the most effective way to communicate is the way to go. So if you're new in business and you're like, well, I can't be choosy who I take, that's okay. Because if you have this knowledge to arm yourself, so it's like if you have a blue, you know that you need to hug them before the meeting and after the meeting. And when you email them or text them or video them or whatever, by the way, like we use Marco Polo and BombBomb. It's a video email. It's amazing. And blue people love it. going to have to give my dog a little treat so she'll cooperate here. But it's so important to identify those things. And then if you have a gold client and you say that your meeting is from 9 to 10:30 a.m., it needs to be 9, 10:30 a.m. And giving them deadlines and a follow-up email is really important with bullet points. And then oranges, don't email them. They're not going to read it. They're just not. The best way to communicate with them is typically make an agenda, and then you meet with them and you captivate and have their attention. I try to keep them for the whole day sometimes, and it's just like ADD, scroll, 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 scroll. And I'm like, okay, what? And they're like, I don't know, just do it, do whatever you think. I'm like, this is your event. Like, what do you want? And what I have found is like, there's some things that are super important to them, and then there's some things that are not so important to them. And so that's where I've been able to understand, okay, you can take the liberty and just make the decision. Where gold people, they want to make all the decisions, and that's okay too. And so for green people, heaven forbid I get them as clients, they ask a gazillion questions, and I have to remember to be patient and understand that they need good, solid facts and numbers before they're ever going to trust me. And that's okay. That's just how their brain works. So customizing the message based on how people's brain is wired is so, so, so important. All right. So somebody said Warren Buffett, which I don't know a lot of who these people are, but I do know who that is, because Warren Buffett says price is what you pay and value is what you get. So when I have clients, the very first thing, or potential clients, they're like, how much do you cost? And I'm like, is that really a concern to you, or you're just potty trained to ask that question? Because I can tell you what we do, and it's priceless and it's valuable, but if you're just calling around to check prices, I'm not going to be the girl for you, because our business model is very different. It's unique. I run this as a business. I don't do this for fun. We have insurance. We have team members. I'm not a one-woman show. And so I'm happy to share value with you. And then after I know what you need, I'm happy to put together a proposal. So it's all about reframing and educating. Does that make sense, y'all? Does that make sense? So the next thing, number 2, is process. And so the process that we use is all about education and guidance. And so this is the most important thing. Again, going back to value and price. So now, because I've been doing this for a while, I use education, like educating people what planning means, which planning and design is a very different service. Planning is all about logistics and all about the floor plan and the vendors and the budget. And then the design is all about the experience and what you're creating with your design team. And so I quickly highlight the difference. And by sharing pictures and sharing video and sharing how we do it, it helps communicate the value. So like, I want to tell you guys like how we literally sell our services without saying a word. By putting things out there and pre-qualifying people, they simply see pictures and they see videos, and they'll call or text or email and say, I saw this or I saw that. And like, I don't know how much you cost, but like, I don't care. Like, I want you to plan this. And so typically most of our clients that say that, they have experienced the way we work at another event or wedding. So for us, word of mouth referrals is really the number one way to go. And so the difference in that, and I like to use Starbucks, not that I like love coffee, although lately building this webinar, getting up very early and staying up very late I've gotten into this really bad habit of like drinking these lattes, and I know it has a gazillion calories, so I got to stop that. But the difference between having a brand and the value that you deliver, and then just having coffee, which competes on price. It's like, do you go to the Exxon or to BP or Dunkin' Donuts or Kroger? Like, this is what my mom does. She shops, she gets all these coupons and goes to 6 different stores. And I'm like, Mother, you're wasting your time. Like, I'm not going to do that. Everything's on Amazon. It's all on auto. I don't have to sit in traffic. I don't have time to do coupons. And she's like, you people these days, you pay for convenience. You're so spoiled. I'm like, no, actually, it's a very good use of my time because I'm building my brand. And so I'd much rather be working towards something than wasting my time. And yeah, I may pay a few more dollars in shipping, but I have Prime. So you really have to think about your time and how you're spending your time on your brand. Do you want to be a brand, or do you just want to be the person that's competing on price? I know that that's not what I want. So I have figured out how to get there. Yes, Janice, the recording will be sent out in a couple hours. So this is how our clients feel, or our potential clients. Like, whether they're couples, brides, grooms, business owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs, when they come to us for help, like, they're so lost and they're stressed, and like, they're looking to you. When people come to you and contact you, they're looking to you as an expert to help them find their way. And so, like, sprinkling education in there is really shifting their mindset into sharing your experiences. And it really is a great technique. Like, it really works to build your value. Oh, this is a really pixely picture, but I'll read it to you in case you can't see it, because I love this. It says, I don't need a wedding planner. All my pins and crafts and fantasies will just magically fall into place while I get my makeup done. Like, I literally have clients that think that, and like, it drives me nuts. And so they're like, I'm looking for a day of planner. And I'm like, listen to what you just said. Okay, so that doesn't exist. And to plan, that means you plan ahead. And typically that's like a year-long process. Now, there's day of directors, but in my experience, that translates to disaster, and you're setting yourself up to fail. So what we do is we educate people and we prepare them to go through our process just by pictures. So we use SmugMug, and it's super crazy anally organized. It's organized by product, by venue, by client name, and it creates this organized experience for potential clients to see what we've done in the past. This is a time lapse. So the whole point to showing you this is that time lapsing your events. Do any of y'all do that? If not, like, I can teach you in one of the modules how to do it. It's not that hard. It is so easy once you know how to do it, and it's not expensive. And so by time lapsing our events and then showing people what it takes to set up some of this stuff. I mean, sometimes we have 200 hands on staff to get things set up in like 2 or 3 hours. It's super stressful. However, we have to pre-build our teams so that we know what's going to be going on. And it has to be extremely, extremely efficient. And so, Shanquia, you're like, I've never done it. So actually, it's a new feature on the new iPhone. It's a little different. Like, we use a GoPro. I'll go into that a little bit later. And then the other thing that really, really helps clients understand what we do is having a promo video, which every single year we try to do one. And I have an outline every single year that I share with all of our clients. And we're always running a year behind. I remember last year when we posted one, someone said, don't you mean 2017? Because it said 2016. And I'm like, nope. At the end of the year, we go back, we recap, we take all the video footage. Some weddings I don't have video, so I insert pictures, and then I hire a company to edit it together, and that's part of my marketing budget. So every wedding and every event we do now, there's a certain amount of money allocated. Just like you take it out to pay your taxes, I take it out to make sure that I can do video so that I can show people. And so by staying on track, again, this business coach helped me do all of this, and also having like an accountability partner. I have an advisory board now, and they hold me accountable, because when you're your own boss, it's really hard to hold yourself accountable. So in this next thing, this is a promo video. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But basically, in the background, you hear, she said, I trust Angela with my life. Like, it's so humbling and it's so amazing that these people trust me. But when you stop and think about all the pressure, like, oh my gosh, I don't ever stop and think about that. I just know I'm a perfectionist, and it better be perfect. And so what you need for this, it's a process, and you have to show people, what are your wants? What are your needs? Let's meet in the middle and make sure we're on the same page. And y'all, if you know you're a planner, it is impossible to tell them everything that you can do. Like, it's absolutely impossible. Like, it's crazy. So, oh, sorry guys. Someone said that, yeah, it actually was a black screen until I hit play on the video. So sorry about that. Can y'all see now? Can y'all type and tell me if you can see now? It says what you need is a process. Okay. Yay. So whenever people say like, what do you do? What can you do for me? Because that's all they want to know. They just want to know, how can you make this easy for me? And how much are you going to cost? So I tell them, it's impossible for me to tell you everything. Go online. You can read some raves and testimonials and feedback from clients. We can send you some pictures and some videos. And I tell them there's 4 things people need from me: design and logistics, which we do a whole design day. Then we put together all the prices. We go through the priorities and the budget. Then we do a mock table and a tasting. Then we do the final timeline meeting, which is another full day. So typically people either talk to me or see me 4 times. That's it. And we're still full service. I have a team that helps communicate. One person does all the scheduling and she takes care of the budget. And so I let them know that there's certain people in the company that are going to handle certain things. Now, if I have a client that says, are you going to be there on the wedding day? I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's always the plan, but it's not about me on your wedding day. Like, yeah, I'm the mommy of communication. And that's why I send out a 50-page timeline sometimes. So everyone's accountable. Everyone knows what's going on. Any of my team members can take the timeline in Google Docs and run your event. They are trained. That's why we have an intern program. That's why people have to train with me so they would do it just as the way I would do it. So even if I can't be at your wedding, which that's not the important thing, which I am a control freak, so I do like to be at all of them if at all possible, but knowing that you have the right team in place to execute is so important. So if you drive the experience and you plan ahead, you're setting everyone up for success. So again, the design, the logistics, the priorities, you can't price things out and build a budget until you know what these people like. And they don't even know what they like until they see the cost associated with it. So we do things a little bit backwards, but it works so much better. So things that I like to say to our clients is that, we pull back the drape and we really show people how to do it. And so, like, it's not fun to review the contracts and discuss payments and tell them how we schedule everything, but that's just the reality. So if you're a one-person show, like, you've got to review your contract. Just don't send it. Discuss payment. So now, like, thankfully, I have somebody who's gold who they can discuss that. They can discuss the payments and the contract. And we tell them once that is received back, we schedule everything. We schedule phone calls. We schedule meetings. We don't email a ton because the emotion gets lost in email. So that's typically where we schedule phone calls. I tell people, don't call me, don't text me. Like, I'm in meetings, I'm selling with clients all the time. But if you need something, you need to just email us and we can get it on the schedule. Let's schedule it so that I'm prepared. It's really, really important to me that I'm prepared when somebody needs something. But also we share Dropbox and Google Drive, which I'm going to get to that in a minute. And that really helps cut down our emails by about 300 a day because we track that too. So it's like once you see the power of tracking, you kind of become like addicted psycho to it in a good way, not unhealthy way. And so what I tell people is like what you need to do with the process is organize your pictures and share your pictures in an organized fashion. Y'all, I work with so many people. They have amazing pictures and I'll be in a meeting with a new client and they're like, oh, let me show you this. And it takes 10 minutes for them to find one freaking picture. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, would you just let me please give me your iPad and use SmugMug and like let me do this for you and teach you how to do this? It's not hard. Yes, it takes time, but once you have everything set up, you're good. And it's such a great feeling. And I tell people, like, once they know this process, they're like, oh my, they're just overwhelmed. I'm like, don't go backwards, go forward. Like you learn new things. You didn't know what you didn't know. Start a new process going forward. And so also with the promo video, guys, even if you don't have the budget to have a videographer or a cinematographer, even if the client's not hiring that, I know you all have iPhones or smartphones. So just take some video. Make sure you hold your phone horizontal, not vertical, and just rest your elbows in your hip bones and hold your phone at like chest height level so it's not shaking, or you can get a little Osmo thing. That's what I have. I think it was like $200. and just capture some video. And you can actually, if you have a Mac, drop in an iMovie. It's all free. Like it comes with your stuff and you can edit it and put it out. So video, I know Facebook Live and I know video, a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that. Like I'm not comfortable, blah, blah, blah. We'll get over it. I'm just here to tell you, I was that girl too when my branding manager's like, so there's this thing called Facebook Live and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't even have time to pee on a wedding day, like much less like get on a camera. But I will say it helps people understand what we do. And then the last big thing is make sure you have a contract template. Not that they all have to be the same, but creating a template, which some of you prior to the webinar downloaded and purchased my contract template, which hopefully that really identifies how we separate and charge for planning and how we separate and charge for design, because it's two totally different services. So going back to the whole value price piece, again, I want to remind you, even with process, it's the value of having a process that you get. And then the price is like what you pay. Okay, so the third component, last but not least, is the experience and providing a great experience for your business and then backing everything up. Oh my gosh, it's the most important thing. Like this is so important. So if you're doing it for a hobby, which again, it's okay, I've been there, and you want to do this as a business, the most important thing is you've got to make sure you're profitable and you're pricing appropriately for you and your life and your bills. I don't care what everybody else is doing, which is what I used to do. Like you've got to sit down and figure out how much do you need to live, how much overhead are you going to have. And let me tell you people, just because if you work out of your house, you still have overhead. You have a car, you have a computer, you have internet, you have a cell phone. Everything that you use to do business is a write-off, okay? So you're selling a security blanket and you're selling the value of your time and your ideas. And it really is a product. So your price is determined by tracking your time. I know you're sick of me saying that, but it changed my life and my business. And using an online calendar that's backed up that you can delegate and share with people, that helps you know your overhead. Like that is the most important thing. So I know this is blurry. This is an actual screenshot of my calendar and all the different colors. And so we track everything. I know exactly where my time is going now. And so when it comes to backing things up, like if you need help and you're drowning in paper, think of Dropbox as your new filing system. And so also how you communicate, all of that is really important. Like this guy says, my computer doesn't work, the hard drive crashed, what do I do? And the guy on the phone's like, did you back up? And he's like, why, is it gonna blow? And it's like, that's not what he means. He means like, did you back up on a hard drive or time capsule? Which I think it should be illegal that Apple lets business owners walk out of their store and invest thousands of dollars and not tell them like, hey, you have to like set that up. Time Machine just doesn't work. So I experienced that the hard way too. So instead of opening a Word or an Excel file, potty train your brain to open up a new document in Google Drive and have templates so you're not doing the same thing over and over and over. And guys, it saves automatically. It's not hard. The key behind the scenes for this, the secret to it being organized, you've got to have folders. You've got to name every single document appropriately. And you'll even notice, because I'm so OCD, that I put numbers. Like I want to see my client folders at the top, my templates, my business, everything is backed up here. And my mom's like, well, what if it goes down? I'm like, Mama, if Google goes down, I'm pretty sure the world's going to come to an end and blow up. So that's that. And then with Dropbox, I love using Dropbox, and I use the two for two very different reasons. I don't have time to go into it right now, but I will tell you again, I know I've said it once, I'm going to say it again. By sharing documents with our clients, our emails decrease by about 300 a day when we're super crazy busy. So what you need to do with this module is set up your calendar to track your time, make sure it's color coded, make sure it's backed up, and make sure your files are backed up and that they're named appropriately and you've got folders. And again, creating templates is so less stressful than redoing the same thing over and over and over and over. So the value versus the price, because I know people are like, well, if I pay for Dropbox Business and I pay for iCloud and I pay for Google Drive and I pay for this and I pay for that, that's like so much money. I'm like, guys, I spend thousands of dollars every month on software and processes and backing things up. But as long as it's making money and the clients are paying and they're appreciating that security blanket, it's paying for itself. I would never operate my business without having those things in place. And so you've got to learn how to provide value. So, Carl, you said Dropbox with clients and Google Drive for operations. Well, for Dropbox, what we do is anything we are not editing, we drop it in Dropbox. But if we're editing something such as a template like the timeline template, the budget template, or like the paper template for anything with invitations, and we're constantly updating it. Anything that's being edited on a regular basis goes in Google Drive, and anything in Dropbox, we're just dropping files in, which usually it's PDFs, and then we have a naming system for that as well. So this is one of my friends, Tara, who recently she was telling me how she's booking a ton of weddings. She's doing awesome. She's killing it. But she doesn't really have a process. I mean, she does now. She just didn't know what she didn't know. She's like, oh my God, this is such an eye opener. Like, thank you so much. Like, I'm really working on my mindset and how to implement. And when I told her, I'm like, she's like, people don't text you? And I'm like, well, if they're dying or if it's like a real emergency. And she's like, oh my God, like, this boundary thing is really hard. But again, you got to practice. Practice makes perfect. So far, what we've gone over is, I know I talk a lot, but you can always watch the replay. Psychology, having a simple methodology to communicate and customize the messages for your clients. Process, having a process to communicate with your clients and educate them. And you know what? If you're new, it's okay. Use my experiences. Listen to my podcast. I don't care. Like, you've got a guide with education and value. And then on experience, you've got to craft something that provides a strategy so it's safe, it's backed up, and your clients know that you have the details under control. So what we have found is once our business clients, like, they implement these things, they really put healthy boundaries in place, and they really have their time back, and their time is respected by their clients, and they really think about, should I say yes to this or should I say no? And they actually know how to become profitable, and they charge on the value. So what that overall outcome is you love your job, you get paid what you're worth, you have more time to do what you want, and you have processes in place. And again, I know it may sound too good to be true, but again, like, I'm a no BS girl, and I can tell you that if you follow this, it does work. And so I know I've thrown a lot of information at you, but if you get one thing out of this, I want you to start understanding the importance of your time and knowing the psychology behind the communication. And like, it's just a waste of time if the client's not a good fit. And knowing the importance of having a process. Okay, there's two things I want you to know. You might need to back up your stuff. And guys, I just want to remind you, like, if you want something different you've never had, you've got to try something different. And again, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just you don't know, like, what you don't know. And so we've gotten to plan and design some of the most amazing events. And so I can tell you, like, if you implement this 3-step process, like the psychology, the process, the experience into business and life, like, I know you can do it because I've been coaching people before I was like, oh, I'm going to teach this to the masses. And trust me, like, you will love your job. And it doesn't really feel like work when you're making money doing what you love, like, right? And so I get up every day. I love what I do. I love my clients. I love teaching. And I actually, as cheesy as it sounds, I love making dreams come true for my brides, my couples, business owners who need help. Like, people say, oh my God, you're so lucky. Like, you get to do what you love every day and like you make money. And it's like, what I don't understand is, like, why doesn't everybody do that? Like, it's because it's hard. Like, it's not easy. And if it were easy, everyone would do it. But by having a system and following it, like, you can get paid for like whatever you are worth. It's all about communication and value. And so for me, it was like getting paid for my organizational skills and my design ideas and my experiences. And I don't consider myself lucky at all. Like, it's taken a lot of hard work. Do y'all have people say that to you? Like, oh my God, so lucky. Bye, Christy. You can watch the replay. I'm almost done. So it's just reframing your potential client's mind. And then, like, when people say you're so lucky, I'm like, no, it's actually an honor. It's very rewarding to be able to serve others in an emotional state, whether it be a celebration of life or a wedding. And so, like, think of it like, what would it look like for you? Like if you had more time, like if you weren't just spinning out of control, like if you had more time for your family, if you had more time to do the things that you love and you like got off the hamster wheel. It's like if you can provide things for yourself and your family, like you really will live life to the fullest. And so if you're like, how do I make that happen? So okay, here is where you have two choices. Okay, so you've got choice one where you like trial and error. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's the long way, the hard way. I've been there. It's again, it's not fun. I'm thankful because it has led me into the teaching and the coaching world, which I absolutely love. But I know the people that I work with, they want results fast. They want the easy way, the fast way. They're like, guide me, make me money. I want to do my passion. So here's the solution that I've come up with that I'm going to share with you guys. So the profit system is all about psychology, process, and experience. But I want to stop and tell you it's not going to be for everybody. Like if you're not willing to commit and take the time to do this, like please don't waste your time or mine. Like understand the value of investing in yourself. It does take a little bit of time. So what you're going to get in the psychology with module 1 with personality and communication, you get the whole communication methodology, all the cards. I'm going to send you videos on how to pre-qualify your clients and using that methodology, and then also share the behind the scenes of our website intake form and exactly how to put yours together so that you know what to look for. So whenever I do that coaching separately, it's $3,200 typically when I do that. And so for the process in module 2 for the education and the guidance, part 1, we organize all the pictures. We teach you how to name them so that when you put them on Pinterest, everyone knows where they came from. We teach you and give you ready to use templates so that you can plan a year out, which by the way, I plan a year out for our marketing. We take a week every December for a whole week, and that's all we do is plan ahead. If you want to get and grow to a different spot, you've got to plan ahead, and I never understood that until I had help. And so I teach you how to do the time lapse, how to sell with video, and then the process of closing clients with a contract, I actually provide you with that template. So if you already purchased that prior to the webinar, what you're going to get in addition to that is you're going to get the 3 different components that make that contract up in the PDF that you got. And so whatever you need to do, you can go back and put all your information in there. That way you don't have to start from scratch. So the value of that, whenever I do that, when I'm coaching is $42.59. So I had to add up all my hours and figure out how much do people normally pay for this, like on one-on-one coaching. So with the experience in module 3, you've got the business practices and backing up. So the most important thing in module 1 is tracking your time. And then we give you templates for backing up your timelines, an Excel spreadsheet where you track the RSVPs, the transportation, the budgets, everything. And then also we teach in part 3 how to name your files and how to share them on Google Drive and Dropbox and how to use them differently. And guys, that's all free. Like using those things are totally free. But again, when I teach that, it's usually $23.99. So the 3 modules, there's 3 videos to each of those. That's 9 videos, and then all of my templates. And then there's also a few bonuses that I'm going to give you. So just adding up the total value of those 3, whenever I was putting together this product, it was almost 10 grand. And I know most people, especially if you're hustling and working a full-time job that you really don't like, people can't afford that right now. But you can invest a little bit to learn. So just high level overview. This is module 1, $31.99. Module 2, $42.59. Module 3, $23.99. So with the bonuses that I'm going to give you, bonus 1 is not only, there's a lot of different tabs in our template for the Excel sheet. And then in the contract, it separates everything out. So you can see how we charge. We charge hourly. And so the way we sell it is in 20-hour chunks so that people can't take advantage of our time. So whenever I rewrite contracts for people, that's $1,500 typically. And then the second bonus is the timeline template. It's completely ready to use. You can use it in Word or Pages. I'll also give you the PDF just so you can see. And then I'm going to send you a bonus video so you can see once we export it and send it out, how to customize the fonts and all that fun stuff. So the total value for that's $9.99. And then bonus 3 is the Excel template. This is where it's got all the different tabs and it's ready to go. So you can do a budget, you can manage the RSVPs. We even have a meeting schedule, a proposed meeting schedule for the high level 4 things that you need to do. And then it has a checklist of things that people can do without their planner, but you can still drive that process. And then it has the seating chart and a few other things for behind the scenes design. So whenever I build that for people, that's $19.99. So the bonuses for the first 20 people that sign up for this, I'm going to give you a video breaking down Pinterest. And this is exactly how to read your clients. If you can look at their Pinterest ID based on psychology before you ever even meet with them, they are completely wowed. They're like, oh my God, you know exactly what I want. And it's like, it's not hard. It's just, you got to know how to use psychology. So whenever I teach that class, it's usually $5.99 a person. So I'm going to recap the value and everything that you get. So in module 1, it's all about the psychology. Module 2, all about the process. Module 3, all about the experience. And then the bonuses is the contracts, and again, in their PDFs, and then there's 3 different things that go with that. Then the timeline template, which honestly it can be used for an event, a wedding, celebration of life, bar mitzvah, whatever you're using it for. And then the Excel template, and then the Pinterest. So with all of that total value, you're looking at almost 15 grand. But obviously, I'm not going to sell it for that because most people, they need to make money. But investing in yourself, as I have over the years, has paid off. And that's how I do make a profit. So one more testimonial by Zane, who I helped from a production company standpoint. He's like, by implementing all this stuff, he restructured his entire company. Like he was able to cut his editing time in half by using the communication and technology processes. He was able to hire the right people and retain the same crew. And when I was like, well, how much is that worth to you? And he's like, about $3,000 a month. And so I ask you, like, what's one client worth to you? Some of us, it may be 5,000, 10,000, 25,000 or more. And so how much would you pay to like completely change your life and your process? Like that's the question here. And so what I want you to know is you can see why others pay for coaching. Now, one-on-one coaching, yes, it's more of an investment. So that's why I want to make this system affordable for people so I can help our industry. And so if you were to close one more client a month, let's just say at $5,000, if you're doing full planning, I hope you learn to track your hours, and you should at least be getting this if you're planning. Like, would you work full time for a full year for $5,000 for somebody? No, especially after you pay taxes and overhead and all that good stuff, right? And so you've got to make sure you're running a business. And so it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, even if I did it half off, like to some of us, it's like, oh, that's a lot of money. Like, I really can't afford it. And so, like, because you guys showed up today and you've stayed and you've like listened to me like laugh and cry and all that good stuff, like, because this is my first one, and it's just like, it's super, super special to me that you guys like are supporting me and getting on. Like, you can go to this link, which you have to type in http://bit.ly/profit system offer. And it's profit spelled the right way, not my last name. So what I'm going to do is, again, I know some people need a payment plan, so we've set it up to where you can do 3 payments of $833, or you can do 1 payment and it is $19.99. So if you pay up front in 1 payment, you save almost $500. So again, you've got like 2 choices. And so, you know, you can do nothing. You may be fine, and you're not ready to take a leap of faith, and that's okay. And maybe you'll be good later. I can tell you that after I do this, like, the price is going to have to go up because it is so much work in the background. But again, today, like for 24 hours, I'm going to leave this offer on the table for you guys because I want y'all to try it out, and I want you to give me feedback and tell me how it's changed your life. And I know it's taking a risk. So if you do pony up and try it and you invest in yourself and you don't get anything out of it and you're like, this ain't working for me, like, I'll give you your money back. Like, I want this to work. So I have a personal guarantee that it's no risk. Like, it's 100% money back. If you're not happy, try it for 30 days. And so, like, the real question, like the value to me, like all this stuff is priceless. And it's like, again, would you invest to pay for one thing. And even if you get one client, you've paid yourself back. And so if you can invest in this, and then you have this process forever. Like that's why I did it for so many years. So my whole thing is the 3 C's of life. You've got choices, changes, and chances. And you must make a choice to take a chance or your life will never change. And that's the wheel of death for us Apple users. Like I feel like I'm on the wheel of death. Not anymore, but I used to. So please, 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 like let me show you how and take a chance and make a change. And so that's the link below. And I am going to open it up for questions in just a minute. So if you didn't sign up immediately, like usually the reasons I get from people, it's like, I don't have the money, I need to check with my husband, or I need to check with someone, or I don't have time. Guys, like, I just want to tell you, like, I'm nothing special. Like, if you can dream it, like you can do it. I was not good at business. I suck at numbers. I suck managing people, but I was coached and I was taught and I surrounded myself with the right people. So again, like last slide, like 3 payments, $833. Here's the link. You can save a little bit of money and just do 1 payment. So I want to thank you guys so much for hopping on today. I hope I gave you a ton of value. And you know what? If you're not ready to invest in yourself and do something like this, it's okay. Like, hopefully the information I gave you for completely free today is very valuable. The content's good. You can always come back. And so again, the normal price, what I'll be doing in the future, it'll be $49.99. And so today we're going to do $19.99. And again, you can do 1 payment for a limited time and save the $4.99 or do the 3 payments. So if you go to that link, then you'll be able to see and recap everything that you'll get, and then you can pick which payment plan that you want. So does anybody have any questions at all? I know that I talk really fast, and a couple of you guys are like, I have to run, so you can watch the replay, which I am going to send that out in just a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to type it here. Again, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. Thank you so much for your time. And I am excited for those of you that can do this and invest in yourself and see what amazing changes that you can make for your business. I'm going to run through any of the questions. Amanda, let me know if I missed anything. I was trying to address them as I was going. Oh, we had somebody from Germany. So fun. I loved Germany. I was there last year. Colorado. I was just in Denver not too long ago. Oh, somebody, Irene, you said, I must be confused. I do a little bit. But make sure to put all that. Yeah, just make sure you put your notes. Don't use a Post-it note because you open your window, it can fly away. You said, how did Kelly Pickler hear about you and your wedding business? So someone that worked with her had worked with me before. And so it was a word of mouth opportunity. And so, oh, Carol, your daughter passed away at 34. That's so young. Cancer absolutely sucks. But everything happens for a reason. And I still don't know why sometimes, but it's just, life has to go on. And I don't think I can ever get through talking about it all without just choking up and just crying because, we miss those people every day. And so, oh, Haley, you said Angela had me take this assessment the first week I worked with her, and it helped me see my color as well as aspects from each color that I have. And I can, oh, that's awesome, Haley. I'm so glad that you can use that in everyday life, like seriously. And Shar, you said the same thing. I know you're green and gold, and there's some more true colors. You said, is there a picture? Oh, sorry about the black screen, guys. That was a video. I was just talking over stuff. So we talked about Dropbox and Google Drive, and in general, how do you set up your intern program? So that's a great question. I actually am putting together a program to teach others to launch an intern program. So we are on list of several schools, not just in Tennessee, but really all over. So I have people that move here during the semester to intern with us and to learn how we do things. And so typically our process, we have an intake form on the website that has very, very specific instructions. And if they can follow instructions, which they have to send us their personality profile results, and there's a few other things that they have to have. They have to use Apple technology. They have to have their own car, so there's a little bit of prerequisite going on there. And then once they pass all of those tests, if that's what you want to call it, then they get an interview. And based on the outcome, that's how we typically choose. So if I need a gold person or a blue person, and that's how I really grow my company, it's kind of like dating people. It's like you can tell on the first day sometimes if somebody's going to be proactive or not, and how you can use them in the company and focus on their strengths and their brightest color rather than their palest color. And so I am putting together a manual for that, because I actually had to put a manual together because I've had some interns that have just made some really poor decisions while working for me. And it's like, I just wasn't raised that way. And so I've kind of become a mother to a lot of children, which that's fine. Some of them are completely teachable and they've turned out wonderful. And some of them, they're a little lost and they just need to go on their little merry way. So someone said, along with the use of true colors, what have you found to be the best way to train your staff? So again, using true colors, and then anyone that works with us, they have to complete an 8-week internship, even if they're not in school. They have to do it on their own time. If you want to be in this industry, you got to volunteer your time. You got to put the hours in. In fact, it's very, very labor and time intensive for me to turn around and train people. So after 8 weeks, typically people get a pretty high level overview of how I handle things. And so that's the best way for me to train them. And also by knowing their color and the way that they operate, the way that their brain's wired, I'm able to put them in situations and in charge of certain things that I know that are going to make them happy. So Irene, you said, I've known Angela for 3 years. I've learned a lot. My team and I, yay, 90% paperless. You're almost there, girlfriend. I taught a class in Atlanta with you, Irene. Jacqueline, you said when I signed up for the webinar, you had a link for the contract, $47, and I couldn't access it. Am I still able to? Oh, yes, absolutely. Amanda, can you make a note? You should have gotten an email right after you signed up for it. Check your spam or your junk mail. I know a couple people, it went to junk or spam. So definitely, if it's not there, we can send it to you. Absolutely. And there's also a video that I did explaining it. So I'll make sure that we send you that link as well as the video. And then if you end up getting the Profit System, the whole thing, you're going to get more information and more templates to build your own contract so you don't have to just do it from scratch. Oh yeah, Carl's in North Dakota. I'll be there in October to speak to a bunch of brides at a bridal show. I'm so excited. Irene, yep, you took the paperless course. You loved it. You've learned a ton. You've really embraced it and taken it to the next level, which is amazing. Alex, you said, I think I missed how to get my true colors. So I'll send you the replay. Give me a couple hours, and then I'll send you the replay and pause it, and then you can go back and list that out. And let's see, Corinne, you said, I love Weddings of Ed. I'll listen to them. Oh, good. I'm so happy. That's the reason I'm doing this, guys. I'm doing this to share my experiences so that people know, hey, you're not crazy. These things happen to all of us. Oh, yay, Haley. So Haley was one of my interns years ago, and she does weddings now on her own. I'm so proud of you. And you use them today. That's awesome. Oh, you're so welcome, Shanquia. She was one of our Instagram winners, and we have been helping her along growing her business and her journey. And Janelle, you purchased a founding subscription for HoneyBook, so it's mine for so with HoneyBook, actually I'm one of their trainers, and I really do like HoneyBook. For us, because we're customizing so many things and we typically use Dropbox and Google Drive, I have found when I'm implementing something that someone's not going to use and collaborate with for the rest of their life, when you're just planning a wedding, even if you're planning for 5 or 6 months, it's really hard to get people to use it. That's what I have found with HoneyBook and with other things. And so even a lot of these software companies, I work with them and help them when they're in beta and get them up and running. But you have to remember, like whenever I started all this stuff, none of this stuff existed. This software didn't exist. And so I've tried to change over, like even for Timeline Genius, like I love Timeline Genius. And so for new planners that don't have a process, that are doing weddings, 50,000 and under, it's great. But when you're doing a live production and you need a 40 or 50 page timeline, it's kind of like you got to know what you're doing. Start with the template. Kind of, I feel like sometimes I'm starting from scratch because things that we're doing are so custom. But I have found that we use HelloSign and then the Dropbox and the Google Drive, and it integrates with that. And I think that's one piece that some of these softwares are missing, that it doesn't have a Zap, so it doesn't integrate with Dropbox and Google Drive. So that's one reason that we stick to that. But HoneyBook is great. Oh, good. So it wasn't in your spam. Okay, so we will make sure that we get that sent out to you. What is the best email to send it over? And then, oh, yay. So tickets for the show in October went on sale today. So Carl, send me the link and I'll be sure to put it out on social media. I like Owl. So Irene asked about Owl Planner. I love Owl Planner. It is a great way to work with the seating charts. Again, there's a little bit of a learning curve. So for our clients, we do a lot of seating charts. My vendors are potty trained a certain way. So they're used to seeing a document that I can share. And when we color code all of our entree choices, they're able to look at it on one sheet the way that I do everything for our seating charts. And it makes it, and then our calligrapher and our printer, it's like they're just, I would have to re-potty train everybody to get on some of these platforms, which again, if you were collaborating with your vendors like that, then as long as you can get them to collaborate and use it, I think it's great. But because I've already impounded these other processes in my head before some of these other things existed, and I'm kind of phasing out doing so many of events because I'm going to teach more and I'm going to coach more. So for me right now, like I don't personally use it, but I have tested it and I have worked and coached with some people who use Owl Planner, and I do think it's a great program. Carl, thank you so much. Here's the link for Eventbrite. So I will copy that and make sure I keep that. And then Jacqueline, thank you for your email. We will definitely send that over. And you say, can you give advice on meeting new clients for someone who is only a few months into their business, pricing and value? So yes, and again, like I have a lot of interns, they're like, well, I can't do this. This isn't going to work. I don't have any experience. Well, here's the thing. So take Pinterest, for example. It's like the largest platform where people are looking. And so the people that intern with me, I tell them, like, pin things. You can pin all you want from the stuff that I do, just in small letters, put like inspired by or work this event with. Just give people credit, give photographers and planners and designers credit. And a lot of people, they don't read the fine print and they think you did that. So then they contact you and say, oh, how did you do that? And how much does that cost? And you're like, well, that's confidential information, but if that's something that you like, I can definitely put a proposal together. And that's where you get a coach. So all these people, these interns that I help, and they're new in business, they're like, oh my God, how do I do this? What do I do? And like, I'm there to help. In fact, there's some planners, they don't have a creative bone in their body, but they're amazing planners. They don't know anything about design either. And they don't even know how to use a hot glue gun. So there's some planners that I work for and I make their floor plans. They draw it out on a piece of paper or I give them options and they pay me as a consultant. And their client doesn't even ever have to know that I'm involved. I don't care. I don't need credit. As long as I'm helping the business grow, that's all that matters. And so, but again, going back to pricing and value, you've got to figure out in terms of pricing, what works for you. How much do you need to live? How much do you need to make? What percentage has to go to either paying for people to help. And again, I did all this by myself for 7 years. And then I had my friends helping me. And, I just give them cash, which is not the way to do it. But when you're first starting out and you don't really know what you're doing, you kind of learn as you go. But like if you have a new client that you meet with and they have specific questions, feel free to reach out to me and ask, and I'll be happy to give you some feedback on how to script that, which we actually do. Like for all of my new girls, like we write scripts so they know what to say when people question them about things like this. So I'm happy to help. Besides word of mouth, what are some ways to find clients or position yourself for clients to find you? So, up until this past year, we've always been word of mouth. And with the social media rage, I will tell you, even though it's a love hate relationship with me and social media, because I'm really a private person and it's not like, oh, look at me, look at me. So I look at it more as just sharing experiences and really, really inspiring other people. And that's what I use it for. And so we have done really, really well with Facebook ads and Pinterest ads and Instagram ads. I will say in the beginning last year when I started to try to do it by myself, I watched a few videos. I took a Facebook course and I suck at it. So I decided to outsource that and I pay someone to help me run the ads. And there's different types of ads. And depending on what your goal is and who you want to reach, I would say probably my favorite in terms of analytics is Facebook. You want to make sure that you're doing it from a business manager account. Make sure you don't do it from your personal page. The analytics are completely different. And I would look at those analytics every 48 hours to make sure it's reaching who you want to work with. So there's an ad, for example, where when people say they're in a relationship on Facebook, you can pick the zip code. I don't know if they let you see the income anymore, the household income, but you can pick zip codes. And then once they change it to engaged, like your ads start to pop up. And again, I don't put an ad out there to be super salesy at all. Like I go back to say, I'm not a sales girl. But at the end of the day, you've got to provide value first and before you ask them to pay you to do something. So the formula we use is always value, give value, and then ask, for a meeting or an appointment. So you've got to add value, even though you're running a sales ad, and then pre-qualifying them by using True Colors or, any psychology methodology would be really, really important. So if you know how to run the ads or you learn how to do it or you outsource that, the return on investment can be amazing. Let's say you spend $100 a week in ads. Well, if you book one client for $5,000 and you've spent $400 that month, it's going to pay for itself. So I hope that helps, guys. We are out of time. Thanks so much for sticking in there with me. If you're interested in the Profit System, go to the website. Be sure that you type it in exactly the way it is on the screen. Otherwise, the link is not going to work. And so I have had some people say, it won't work. And so I'm like, you have to type in HTTP for it to all work. So make sure you write this down, take a picture, or watch the replay because I know that I talk really fast. And I do want to let you know, once you register, you should pretty immediately get a unique username and password that will be emailed to you, and you'll get instant access to this private page where I've built all these videos. It's 13 videos. You get the templates and the bonuses. And you could probably get through it in a few days if you just block out the time on your calendar. But I really tell people to give yourself at least 45 days to go through it, implement it, test it, and go back and rewatch, implement, and test. So it's rinse, wash, repeat to get it down. And of course, if you have any questions at all, guys, reach out to me, email me, connect@angelaprofit.com. You should have my email if you attended this webinar, and I am more than happy to help. And Amanda gets that email too, and she can answer probably just as much as I can too. So, you are so welcome. I'm so glad, Christina, that you were able to jump on with me. Again, thanks so much for sticking around for the questions, guys. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and anything that you need, please reach out to me. I'm here for you guys to help you. Have a great day. Bye.